Ladies and gentlemen, how you all doing? I am Connell.
And I am Rangroo. Hello, hello, hello.
And folks, first of all, to our neighbors in the Great White North, happy Canada Day. We want to celebrate your guys' most holy of holidays, other than Boxing Day, with another little replay from the Redstorm 44 League. This one coming to you from Zabuchin. So, Rang, who's duking it out here?
On the left-hand side in the blue, we have Ort Frederica playing as 25th Panzer Grenadier. Right-hand side in red, we have Reath playing as the brand new to Redstorm, the 1st Guard Division, and happy Canada Day, guys.
Indeed, happy Canada Day. So I guess in the meantime, with Wreath Noel, a rather very holly molly jolly thing going on here. What exactly should we be expecting between these two?
First Guard's infantry is it looks pretty boring on paper, as it's just a kind of a light infantry division. No real crazy support units like anti-tank or artillery or anything. It's just the standard. But by God, the infantry is scary. The main gimmick is they get lots of Sturmovikis, which you can get. It seems like Reef is going for a bit more of a lax approach. You also have Strafniki officers, which are very deadly Strafniki troops. Essentially what I'm trying to say is they are very good infantry and mediocre everything else.
So you're saying he's absolutely strafed?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's the important thing here. We've got to watch out for those strafts, really. I do like seeing that we actually have ourselves with the Panzer Grenadier division under control. That we actually see some of those Abwehren with the Granata. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to try to say the actual thing. But the G39s over here finally getting some legitimate anti-tank rifle play from the Axis. We definitely gushed about it back over here on Tuesday. This the effectiveness of just so much of the Russian anti-tank material, especially from the rifles kind of sections. And while the German ones aren't going to be winning any awards anytime soon, other than Darwin Awards by how sillily they get deployed sometimes, it's still nice to see that they're able to kind of stand up mostly to some material here, you know?
Yeah, they're not as good, of course, compared to the Russian ones. I mean, just use the fact that you can get like 2 to 3 PTRTs or PTRSs in a single squad. But they can still, I mean, even just one anti-tank rifle is enough to force an infantry transport to unload. But Reef going for a pretty aggressive push on the center. Got the Superiors and the Guard Motos moving up through with some light armor and fire support in general.
Exactly. Exactly. I guess at the end of the day, these guard squads maybe not quite as terrifying as the material we've seen maybe in previous occasions, or is that a mischaracterization, would you say?
And not that terrifying, really. I mean, they have the guard bonus, which is pretty minor. I mean, they're just alright line infantry, really. They're not great at CQC, but they're not terrible because they have a decent amount of SMGs. And they're not great at long range, but not terrible because they only have 1 DP. So they're just kind of a catch-all unit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, crap, what the hell is this furball happening?
P40s, they're trying to go up against ME410s and a BF109. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on this, but the Kurdish is definitely outnumbered and certainly outflown in this particular case as well. Yikes, that was fast.
Yeah, and this is definitely a dogfight which belongs more in North Africa than the Eastern Front, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, looking down south here, Reef had to go for also a pretty aggressive push here with a whole line of veteran superiors, but he's forcing a long-range fight against dudes with machine guns. He only has rifles. That's not going to go that well for him.
No, probably not. Probably not. I mean, at least they've got frags, right?
Yeah. But you need to get a little bit closer to take advantage of his frags.
I would certainly hope so.
Oh, Dornier up north.
Ooh, Tourney, ooh, my old friend.
Ooh.
Let's go. Oh no, those Russian infantry. I feel terrible. Yikes.
Scatter Joe, it could have been much worse.
Yeah, I think that was a bit of a godsend there. But that's why you pray. That's why you pray to London 3 times a day. Like, I understand that.
Run for your life.
Exactly. You pray to London and you run from Stalin.
Yeah.
Across the middle though, Strokey Guards moving east to west. Not a whole lot of resistance really right now.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot here from Ort, really. He had like one or two infantry squads, but the guards have managed to outnumber him, and the Stug is not in a good position to give effective fire support, and is actually going to be falling back due to any... Well, yeah, the guards do have anti-tank grenades, so they are a threat to the Stug, of course. And also just all the fire support that Wreath has backed up with the SUs and the T-70s is enough to make Ort think twice about moving up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of the thing, isn't it? Is that you got to go and make your opponent kind of nervous to advance. If you make him nervous to advance, you've already won the battle.
Yeah, a lot of this game really is about bluffing your opponent into thinking that you have more stuff, or more deadly stuff than it actually is.
And that's kind of funny that we never really thought about it being quite that cerebral, which is one of those things I think is why I failed so heartily at it. And you know what they say, I mean, those who can't do cast, unless of course you're Canadian. But looking at this here, I mean, that bluffing piece, I'm too honest of a guy, you know? I always want to be straight with you people.
Mm-hmm.
And not for nothing, I can't help but feel that Stug is getting extremely lucky right now with some of these firing lanes. I think this SU-76 is going to show him the error of his ways, and yep, there we go.
There you go. I do love to use, like, the SU-76s are one of my favourite units in this mod. They're cheap, they're effective, they get the job done, and as you can see, they can deal with armor threats pretty well, and infantry too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. And I mean, and that's kind of the point of them. They're supposed to be an assault gun for all seasons. Winter, winter, and winter.
It really sucks having that open top in the winter time.
That's when you just burn a vodka fire at the top, man. That's how you keep warm.
Yep.
Down to the south, despite the fact that they were devastatingly let's say, out firepowered, veteran superiors have forced back Pigrens, and I think it's a big part of that was being out in the open stuff for the Pigrens. Pioneer Furies, in the meantime, doing decently well, you know, commanding a rather hasty, if rather efficient retreat. But as we have Sturm Pigrens moving on in, I think this might be enough to dislodge the superiors the other direction. And geez, we have another furball that's going to be happening here.
A whole lot of air power really wants to blow up at SU-76. But another Curtis seems like it's going to go down here.
And geez, that flak feeling, I always forget the sheer amount of firepower that it puts out. It is absurd. That thing was watering the skies with fire.
Mm-hmm. It's just so cool. Like,
it is.
We always see like 37mm and 88mm guns being brought in. Yes, they're effective, they're useful, but the flag furling has lots of dagger, and I think all of us, including you, the viewer at home, like seeing just a lot of bullets. No, not a few bullets, but just a lot of bullets.
That's like VSMR, you know?
Yeah.
That's the visual version of ASMR in my mind. But the VSMR, it's a beautiful thing up in the air. I don't know. Looking on the center line, we are going to see superiors are continuing to aggress and supported by this T-70. I do not know what the deal is, but it is not going to be good for those pioneers.
Not at all. I mean, the problem here is that Ort doesn't really have any fire support backing him up, and his division is going to run into the same issue that Her Robert ran into in our last cast, is that his armor is really only Stugs, and Stugs are great. They're a lovely tank destroyer, assault gun, whatever you want to call it. Like, he doesn't have any light armor support to help out in town fights like this, where Reef Knoll has T-60s and T-70s and SU-76s for these occasions.
Exactly. Looking at the T-60, the T-70s, and we deride them as much as we can. I mean, the ranks up there with Airsoft Trooping, to be fair. But you need to have some kind of light firepower. You need those autocannons. You need those quick-firing guns.
Yeah. And in town fights like this, you can outmaneuver Stugs and tanks and sideshot them pretty easily, or get a good close-range penetration shot. I mean, you have AP shell shells on the T-70, which is quite nice.
And isn't that what we all want in our life? Just a little bit more penetration?
Oh yeah, just a little bit of penetration.
I'm going to let the viewer just sit with that for a second. Yep. Just be quiet. But, 217, more bombs coming down. We've seen, finally, Tourney does go down. But I would argue that they've paid for themselves, at least in terms of the stress that they've caused. They certainly caused me to feel a little bit stressed. I'm not even playing the match.
Yeah, they haven't done They've done, like, pretty well.
And that's only one of them, to be fair. But at the same time, it's been very, very deadly to be in the air on Phase A for both sides. And I'm trying to wrestle with the concept about who's coming out ahead here, and I don't know who that is.
I know, I feel like Wreath is getting the better map advantage because he's almost has this town and center completely under his control. And that's usually a huge area to get, because it just gives you a really good springboard into either attacking up north or down south.
Absolutely. And he's continuing to do more and more with it. I mean, there's this one anti-tank rifle over here that's behind the front lines, and he's going to get taken on out here pretty quickly, I imagine, as he runs out of basically MP40 ammo and gets engaged by T-60s. So yeah, this is going to be awful. Wow. Wow. So firing line of the Russians, we have some Germans that are out in the open here, but backed up by a Stug. But that's a scratch defense. That's not going to hold the line.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, down south we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's really just more of a defensive posture at this point. Now, the MG42 is just around the open, but he has the range, so the infantry can't shoot back at him at least. And he has the flag, so I feel like right now, just scratch defense down south, and he's trying to book everything into the central position. He has a whole lot of Stugs being brought in, but the problem is trying to get those firing lines on those T-34s and T-70s to actually kill them. And there's a lot of T-34s and T-70s and soon Su-122s, which need to blow up.
Well, I'm looking at them right now. We have a bunch of Stokes over here trying to engage and push back these T-70s and T-34-76s and all that. But when the enemy can lose 2 or 3 vehicles, just like, dude, look there, crew killed.
Yeah, and that's a dead tank.
You can't do anything with that.
Nope, you can't repair crew killed or any crew losses in Redstorm, so yeah, that's not a good critical to have, and Reef Knoll has pretty much got the town under his control, and it's really down to the fact that he has that light armor support to back up his infantry, which aren't as good in a fight compared to the Panzer Grenadiers, but when you're backed up by armor, it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't, but you are going to see ME-410 coming on in. This guy's going to be desperate to try to keep things at bay. Unfortunately, we are seeing a bit of a targeting ascription error in my mind. And we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday as well. I feel like if you're getting pushed back by infantry, use your aircraft to kill the infantry. Suppress the infantry. Those are the guys who hold the front lines, and those are the guys you have to kill.
Yeah, and of course it is possible to kill tanks with bombs, but it's still... infantry is more of the priority target. It does finally kill one, but it took 2 bombing runs to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
but here we are.
Now Ortsuna, he's not in a great position as he's pretty choke pointed now in that town, and as you see, Reef Knoll just has tanks all over the place covering all these nasty little sight lines. And I mean, he's moving in Panzer Grenadiers, veteran runs, or Stern Panzer Grenadiers, which are pretty damn good, of course, but you know, with all the Russian tanks back in Reef up, as well as having the combat as well, which is definitely boosting his infantry effectiveness by quite a bit, it's just not a good position for Ort at all. And the Stugs are just not having a good time.
Well, the perverse thing here is that we do have artillery that can be brought on in. We have an off-map that can be brought on in. You can go and just barrage the western edge of this town and make your life that much easier.
Yeah.
Oof. In the meantime, MB-109 goes down to an IL-2 Sturmovik, which continues to be, you know, the charmed life that all IL-2s seem to lead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like there definitely is a missed opportunity here, at least on that side of things. Don't depend on your Stugs to win your territory. They're not going to do it. They're ambush predators. They don't want to be in a straight-up fight.
Yeah, in town fights, even like this, they do have a bit of a difficulty, of course, especially when they're outnumbered. I feel like some anti-tank guns might be a good call from Orte, just as a defensive measure. He's essentially using his Stugs in an anti-tank gun position right now. You might as well just try to get the extra stealth bonus and ambush some of these T-60s and T-34s.
And therein lies the rub, doesn't it? And that's kind of the issue really overall with the first, is that you have so much that you have to depend on not lackluster equipment, but certainly equipment that struggles to keep relevant.
Yeah, and you're not going to be killing heavy tanks in direct ground fire. You only have a few Su-85s, of course. But if you can keep the fight through these close range engagements, they perform just fine. Just like you receive like Cossack divisions and a lot of like Russian infantry divisions. Really, they really thrive in this sort of environment. While German runs has received 25th, which is a good example of an infantry division. Much prefer long-range open fights where you can use crazy anti-tank guns, Stugs, and all the MG42s to take the victory.
And of course, as we're saying this is when a lot of the Soviet tanks are getting picked off one by one, but what have they won with that? It's been, what, 6 minutes of bleed?
Yeah.
So, not that easy to turn around and be like, oh yes, everything's perfectly alright.
And Reath has a really good defensive position in that town. He has like infantry all over the place, and now, you know, on B-phase, he has Sturmoviki being brought in, and you just don't want to get close to Sturmoviki, let's just put it like that.
Well, all of them are going to the northern side of the town, so that's kind of interesting there.
Yeah. I think he's just going to use them in an offensive manner to try and clear out the Panzer Grenadiers and all of that stuff.
Well, look at the timing of this. We have a Napalm Sturmovik coming on in as well.
Gonna be burned, baby, burned, Khan.
Yeah, it's going to prove you Disco is not dead. Disco is life,
yeah.
Apparently.
Apparently 1944.
Well, I'm hearing Moscow being sung at the top of their lungs.
Rah, rah, Rasputin.
Exactly. Not a lot of kind of killing going on here, but we are going to see this MG42 start to engage. No, sorry, MG34, excuse me.
And at long range in the infantry fight, Ort definitely has the advantage. I mean, his infantry is scary, but it's just trying to get into a good position. As you see, Reath has a lot of his guys on hold fire. You're actually looking in the central position. I feel like Ort could potentially make a push. A lot of Reath's infantry has been like chipped down quite a bit. It's just about aggression onto them, but if they're holding fire and just, you know, holding the line and not dying, you know, it's deterring Ort from making an offensive push.
And that's an interesting thing. We talk about the idea of bluffing and making the opponent thinking that you have more than what you do have on the field. Is that a bluff play? Is that just kind of saying,
I feel so.
Okay, so how so? Tell us more about that.
Just because it's like, his infantry only down to like a few squads left, but as long as they're alive, they still hold front line. So just keeping them on the hold fire, just to make it seem frontlinerized that there's more there, is a smart move.
We're even seeing right now T-60s and continue to engage these front axis positions. I want to take a quick look to the south. There was a bit of a slight push moving some Axis infantry into the forest, and indeed, actually, we have a couple of Russian scouts somehow really behind the front lines, but,
Oh yeah, these are little two-man explosive teams, which can be really nasty.
And I guess I also didn't appreciate the fact that this Stug is taking on all comers. He is the Black Knight in the situation, killing another vehicle down here. Several vehicles already burnt out. And Holman is holding the line, so...
Yep, this is like the perfect engagement for Stug. You know, one narrow choke point at long range where he can effectively kill T-34s because he has like a decent armor advantage.
Well, armor advantage, pen advantage, really everything here.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the heck is going on with this, but I'll tell you right now, it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah, the two-man team's coming in for a flank. Gonna be getting those satchel charges off.
Oh my gosh, you're right. I totally forgot about the satchel charges for them.
Yeah.
Yowza. One's gonna get pinned down and probably slain here in just a moment. Other one, get at the PP shots. And they've certainly at least revealed the positions, if nothing else. The Russians have to know that the Germans really aren't that great of numbers down here to the south.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely can clear them out if he does get some more infantry. Especially, I mean, he has like 2 Sturmoviki recon troops, which could probably clear out that southern forest if he so desires. But, I mean, looking back into the town, you know, Ort is slowly but surely, you know, chipping away at Reath's defensive position.
I think you had it right the first time. He's slowly but slowly doing it.
Yes.
But there's the consequence of holding fire constantly. Pioneer Squad literally drove up to the front door, kicked in the front door of the house, and said, "This is mine now, insert expletive here."
Yeah.
Like, you can't allow that to happen, even if it's, you want to say effective fire, that'd be okay. SU-122 goes down, so Is this a collapse potentially brewing over here in the center?
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, there's a lot more German infantry here now, and a lot of those Russian light vehicles are now all dead. They eventually wrote all the raid over, just the amount of stugs that have been finally brought in. Russian is won't have enough time to really take advantage of this, because he is a slow division. He's going to, walk his infantry up to capture these positions.
It does look like in the meantime he's going to go and have a bit of a blithe disregard for, let's call it, the means and value of property. Oh no, Tourney, the injured pilot, gets sent away packing and kind of crying for his mama.
Yeah. But he is going to get away. Maybe.
You do think or don't think?
Maybe, well, he should if he had to evac, but no, he's not evacing.
Well, the pilot injuries are rather interesting critical, so I think what ends up happening is it goes around in a particular direction, just continues to go around, I think, until it's stressed.
Yep.
Or until, I forget the other part of that is.
Like, being blacked out.
That's what it was, thank you. Down to the south, we have seen that these T-34, the Stug, one's got a damaged antenna, broken tracks, damaged optics, the other one's got broken legs as well, and I don't even know what else happened to him. But you can see the T-34 has 4 AP shells left. So just as a quick reminder, he's got 25 to start with. It means he's fired 21 at this Stug.
What a pathetic fight.
But at the same time, that's one of those like heroic stands back and forth. You're waiting for these guys to just be like, okay, is it over yet? No, it's not. Okay, cool.
You have 2 shots left, OKT-34. You need to make these count.
Now, if he takes him out with the last shot, I think there's a whole medal and World of Tanks for this, but I couldn't tell you off the top of my head what that is.
It probably is, but yeah.
Strokey, in the meantime, they're going to continue to move on south and go into Pioneer, and then these with explosives. Ones are pinned down, but let's not forget here, guys. These guys still have a delicious amount of firepower. If only their friendly squads move up and support them, they would be able to take this out.
Yep.
Transitioning back to the meantime, over here to the center position. Strafniki being poured on in.
And these are the officer runs, so they don't even have a dishearten type bonus. They're actually better. You actually get a proper bonus. So these guys are pretty nasty.
But they're being caught out in the open, which is a bit of a problem.
It is a bit of a problem. They get ambush specialist and extra accuracy, rate of fire, and stress resilience. And they also have the same frontline influence as the leader, but they don't get buffed by friendly leader units, so a very interesting unit. Very good for, like, leading the charge, so to speak. I mean, that's kind of the historic use of him as well, just to, really push the front line.
Unfortunately for this push for the Germans, more napalm's being put over here to the front lines, and they're not going to be able to avoid this one. Not even remotely. And I'm thinking the IL-2, of course, will be able to make it. Oh no! I was saying the IL-2's definitely going to make it out alive. Like, come on! Oh wow! How about that? Is that really all I have to say? Is the IL-2's going to make it out alive, and they finally get shot down? Wow. Okay.
Finally bit the dust, yeah.
And being on the front lines just stinks. Look at that. Like, of the squads that were on the front lines, there's one dude left. Literally, one man left alive. I think of 5 or 6 squads that were duking it out right there in the central position.
But there's more guys to take their places. You've got more officers, Strafnikis coming in to push the front line. And, yeah. I mean, Wreath is... And it's not like a crazy point advantage, but he still has pretty decent map control in this town. I feel like Ort does have enough, like, forces to push up and attack. But I understand at the same time, it's, like, hard to really maneuver your slugs in. And now we've got SU-85s being brought in. That's definitely going to deter any slug movement.
Well, that's the thing I was going to say, is that I thought you were going to go with a slightly different direction, in that he's got the ability to attack, but he doesn't have the ability to hold.
Yeah, that's also true.
And that's kind of the 25th, though, isn't it? There's the 25th in a nutshell. You theoretically have everything you need. But there's some X factor that continues to kind of go and cause problems for you pretty consistently.
Yeah, which is the lack of light armor.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, the Stugs are good, you have heavy anti-tank, you know, just enough artillery, anti-air, and air power to get by, but... goddamn, in 1v1s on this mod, I find just having light, cheap vehicles can really make or break fights such as this. It's why I like playing a lot of Russian divisions, because those T-34-76s are just extremely multi-purpose.
The multi-purpose, but I do wonder sometimes about their long-term kind of ability to stay in the front lines.
Yeah, they die eventually, but, you know, I got more in the factory.
That is true, yeah. Another IL-2 comes back in, and this is going to be a constant thing. The question is really going to be, can the anti-air kick in quick enough before the napalm goes out?
Probably not. There's no, like,
Not this one.
88. We do have multiple flag villains, so it's going to be a sight for eyes.
Wait, the IL-2's going to make it out alive? Okay, it didn't work that time. Interesting.
Oh.
But even if he goes down, there's still 2 more that can be thrown into the front lines here.
Yeah.
Now, regrettably, over here, for Wreath Noel, I feel like his infantry, despite the fact that they're roughly equal over here, and the Strafniki are deliciously good, I'm starting to wonder if he's losing a bit of momentum.
It definitely seems to be the case. He's, you know, especially in the northern side of the town, is getting pushed back a bit here. As Ort is, you know, slowly making progress, but the main thing is Reef does hold out flag still, so he's not in terrible position and still has that 13-11 and still putting a little bit of pressure just down south here. He's got like a guard motor strengthly and the recon troop moving through, probably going to capture that 1 flag back, yeah. So he can afford to really just hold. It's just how long he can hold into the center. And I still feel like he has decent time to do so just because 25th just has a very hard time in attacking this town.
Absolutely.
Really needs like some off-map or neighbor werfers to just blow everything up and then move up and clear up the rubble.
Well, asking ye shall receive. 320 millimeters of just sexy is being rolled on in as we speak. And I dare say, yep, that's going to be a barrage point over there in that defense beacon.
Yep.
Outside of that, I think you're right. That in the lower call, these guys are going to continue to march on forward. They're going to pick it up nice and easily. And that's going to be a 15-9 in just about 5 seconds, I'm sure. Oh no, they're outside of supply.
Oh no.
Ooh.
But they get the flag kills, so it's not too terrible. We got some
For now.
Comrades being brought in probably to help buff the front line.
True. There's a piece of me that wonders why the North wasn't a little bit more aggressively chosen here from Ort's side of things. Of course, again, God Vision, very easy for me to be critical about this. But wouldn't that open ground, those fire lanes looking to the northern escarpment up there, wouldn't that be a little bit easier for Stokes to be more effective?
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. Of course, it can be tough because trying to spot any potential hidden anti-tank guns and whatnot, but it's definitely much better territory for Stugs if he manages to clear through that 1 forest ruler up north with all the Superiors, just somehow get through that, get onto the hill, and then you're in a pretty good position to really start putting pressure down south.
Well, the Buffers is going to be hitting the back lines here. Once again, I would like to see it be deployed another 500 meters west. But that will inevitably be my constant plea for a lot of players. Hit the front lines, use the mortars and artillery, like actual on-map artillery that does exist. Use that to suppress weapon teams in the back. Unless it is the key linchpin holding the enemy defense, don't bother with it.
Yeah. I feel like Hort has been way too defensive considering he's losing by a 15-9 disadvantage now. Which where is he losing these flags? I know down south hasn't been too great.
Well, he's going to pick up some small ones here and there, and nibbles are going to go all over top of that zip code. And we are seeing more and more aircraft being deployed to the south. Bombs away constantly. Another Dornier coming in after that Strokey squad. It's 14-10 still. So again, very, very nerve-wracking. It's got to be for the 25th Pentagram Grenadier.
Yeah. It is pretty funny how Wreath has been able to hold his town just by not shooting at people.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like Private Ranger. Why have you not attacked the town yet? Well, there's no one there. How do you know? No one shot at me.
But there could be people here, so I'm too scared. But it's like very interesting because if he was opening fire, what would happen is that at a long range fight he would probably lose out against Panda Grenadiers. But if he holds fire, don't know how many forces there are. I feel like Ort feels like there's much more in that like town position than it actually is. Of course we have our God Vision. So he's just not risking this attack and just trying to go around it.
And going around it would have worked had he tried it about, 20 minutes ago, I feel.
Yeah.
But at this point, there's just enough stuff to kind of just retard his progress until other reinforcements can be brought in.
Yeah, which is a shame because Ort's finally getting into a good position. I mean, he has a Stug hooking around the north of the town, the Pack 40. Like, that's a very good position for him to be in and take advantage of the long range guns of his division. But there we go, we got the push into the town finally, the Panda Grenadiers. Just be enough overwhelming firepower, I believe, to deal with the Stravnikis. So the Stravnikis are still nasty. I mean, they have an MG42 that they brought from home.
Well, more Sturmovikis being brought into the north of that town, but this is a band-aid necessity. This is not, oh my gosh, we're really concerned about this. It feels like icing on the cake, you know?
Yeah.
Zis 3 in the meantime does what he does best. Fires at everything that moves. And it's the SU-76 barrage is going to come down here, and it's going to completely stop this entire push. The 76-2 barrage is vastly underrated in terms of deadliness.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not. And I think for some reason this is okay. There we go. This is what you want to stop a push. Who cares? He hit his own guys. Big deal. Those guys are looking to get their stripes back anyway, their stars back anyway. And this barrage is done what it needs to do.
Yeah.
No Germans coming that way for 30 seconds.
Came in pretty clutch.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's gonna slow down. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Fort's gonna be able to pick up a flag anywhere, really. I mean, down south, it's nowhere you can really take. Because there's nowhere else you can really get a flag apart from the center, which is not a good position to be in.
True. True. And now with 1.5 billion guard squads being brought on in, because why the heck not? It's going to be very, very difficult to kind of come back from this. And I don't think that's going to be the case. If we got 28 seconds left over here on Canada Day, 2021, it's kind of nice. It's kind of nice to see that Wreath Noel is giving us a little bit of like a Christmas and almost July kind of feeling here,
Yeah, it's like he played that very well. He played to his advantages in the town, the light vehicles, his decent infantry, and that hold fire strategy is... I really quite like it. I'm going to take a note.
It's unconventional, but, if it works, who cares, right?
Exactly. If it works, it works.
And you can see right here, SU-76 really well. I mean, really, anti-tank platforms, those multi-purpose platforms, did very, very well for themselves. Saitov, T-34 did well. I mean, other than that, SU-85, you can see the light vehicles didn't get a ton of kills, but they were stopgap measures enough to cause hassles for the attacking Germans.
Yeah. Slowed them down. And then losses...
Oh, of course, Fett is quite the bounty hunter over here.
Not bad for him. We got Stug knocking out a whole bunch of light armor.
6. Yeah, that guy was the center. That's as the entire position sort of collapsed a bit. Him and Holman. Holman was down south. Farnbach was in the central position. Again, some real standout players, but not able to really kind of put together a driving, shove here, so to speak,
Yeah, it was just... it's one of the problems I keep saying in the cast. The lack of light armor really screws you over in those town fights. I feel like you really need to remedy that by using lots of artillery. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of artillery slots in the division. Well, you actually do. You actually do. I think mortars and more aggressive off-map and naval rifles earlier on would have helped out Ort quite a bit in that sort of fight.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But here we are. I mean, that's the way that's got to be, and that's the way that it worked out.
Yep.
More kills over here on the side of the 25th Panzer Grenadier, but at the end of the day, the important stuff was held by, the Russians. So well done to them.
Indeed.
But folks, that's going to about do it for us today. Any last thoughts there, sir?
Not today.
Well, in that case, folks, come back next week to hear more thoughts. Until then, I'm Connell Work.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.